Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from the GBM studios in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes. Start your morning right with your hosts, Sabrina Daly and Isani Caetano.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I am Isani Caetano. Good morning.
And good morning,
Good
Isani.
morning, Sam.
How you
Kinda
doing?
wet Wednesday. I'm good.
It is.
I'm good.
It is a little bit wet outside, but regardless of that, the program still needs rolling,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
It is Wednesday morning here, and we are happy to have you guys tuning in with us and starting your morning right. Isani, I want to jump straight into
Sure.
what we have lined up for you guys in terms of conversations this morning. So come along over here. Let me guide you in that conversation. Now, for the first one, we are going to be diving a little bit deeper into the processes of ICU interventions. Are there any new technologies, and who is spearheading that? We'll be joined by Dr. Hidalgo as he highlights some of those interventions. And then the rest of the show will be dedicated to faith. We are going to be joined by Israel United in Christ as they engage community outreach. And so we'll also be talking about some of those programs and projects that they have been highlighting as well. And then finally, a sit down with Bishop Wrights and his legacy of leadership. There's much to be celebrated with Bishop Wright, and so we'll definitely take an opportunity to acknowledge that and celebrate those moments with him. But I'll send it over now to Isani to have you guys know some of the things you should know before you leave your homes this morning. Isani?
Great job, Sab. Guys, this is what we have for you in terms of the 5 things we believe you need to know this morning. Indian Creek remains on edge after first alcalde disappears. That's a major conversation we're going to be having in just a few. BEL's sick and elderly ex-employees protest for severance. Are some bus operators charging higher fares without approval? 230 plus medical volunteers bring faith and free care to Belize City. And finally, Trump resumes verbal attacks on the Pope. That's an interesting one. All right?
Yeah.
Good morning once again,
Good
Sam.
morning again, Isani.
So we're going to be having a conversation in just a few about what's taking place in Indian Creek. But before then, we should jump into what's happening in the world of public transportation in Belize.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, the government has emphatically said we're not to raise prices on bus fares, right? As a matter of fact, they've also been on record to say that they're assuming or incurring some of the losses that come along with what's taking place at the pump. But the Belize Bus Association and its affiliates are saying, look, we need desperate help because we can't continue on like this, right? Now, what does it mean? It simply means that yesterday, quite a number of people reached out with ticket stubs for buses that they caught wherever they were going to across the country.
Yeah.
And they immediately noticed that there was, in some cases, a $1 increase in the cost of transportation. Now, we have one here from
The
Belmopan. Yeah, from Belmopan to Benke via the BBOC, right? And that charge went from what would have ordinarily been $4 to $5. Now, this flies in the face of what government is saying, that these bus operators cannot, on their own, raise bus prices. That's the responsibility of the Ministry of Transport to regulate
Meaning,
that.
if we broke it down even further, illegal.
Yeah, it is illegal, right? It is illegal. But at this point, something has to give, right? If these people are saying, look, we can't continue this way because we're taking a hit in terms of our bottom line, and the government is saying, well, we're not a budge neither, the cost of fuel continues to go up. So they have to be able to find some middle ground. Now, in all of that, though, the latest that we heard from the Belize Bus Association is that they're now seeking an audience with the Prime Minister. Well, the Prime Minister is not in the country. He left yesterday to go and attend some other government business elsewhere, right? So I don't know what's going to happen in the interim time, because at the end of the day, people still need to catch bus to go in and go in.
You know,
and, you know, prices not going nowhere either.
Yeah, and I have to acknowledge that there are several different sides to this. We've had the Bus Association on the couch with us, sharing why they believe they should be supported. Of course, we also heard from the Minister of Transport essentially saying that they chose a side. They chose to operate their business independently. And with that, there are some challenges that you will have to incur on your own when you choose that. Of course, the National Bus Company, the ministry has announced that they will be absorbing the loss from that. So I imagine this does not affect necessarily the bus operators that are a part of the National Bus Company. However, if you think of it, it does boil back down to the very same taxpayers that will be paying for that, right? And that was also said by the Belize Bus Association as well. But I think I want to go to a comment that was raised by a viewer in our Viewer's Voice on the news last night. And the commenter essentially said that we're all feeling the pinch, Isani, when we go to the pumps. And we don't get to tell the government, take some of this away. We're trying to, but we can't necessarily raise prices in other areas. Regular people that are going to the pump, when you go and you put fuel in your cycle, when I go and put fuel in my car. And so I think there are some people who are not necessarily understanding why the Belize Bus Association might want to have the government absorb some of their losses, especially when they chose to remain private. And I won't lie, in a way, I kind of understand that view as well. And so I'd be interested to see what the sit down with the Prime Minister would bring about. I know with the three terms that were presented on the table to the Ministry of Transport and all of those being sidelined, at least for now, it makes you wonder if they will be getting any type of support from the Prime Minister.
But here's the thing too, though. I don't know that it is prudent for anyone at this point to sidestep the ministry altogether and go to the Prime Minister. I don't know if that's the correct thing to do. That's why the ministry put there, along with the minister and the CEO and everybody who deals with transport, working together along with other bus operators to figure this thing out. Like you said, you chose to remain independent.
Yeah.
Now you to try sidestep the ministry altogether if you go to the PM. I don't know if that's how it work out, right? It remains to be seen. I just ask people, commuters at that, to be very, very vigilant, right? You guys are the ones who are traveling to and fro. You guys are the ones who have to be very careful in terms of how much you're paying and what have you, until the ministry says something else. Then people can't charge no more than where it's supposed to be.
I mean, I'm not sure what the system is like anymore when you catch the bus. I know you have to purchase the ticket stubs. I don't know if you have to purchase that ahead of time. And so that kind of puts you in a position where you either pay the extra $1 if they are doing that or not catch the bus. But what about people who need to catch that bus to get to work? You know, it really puts into perspective.
So to paint a quick scenario then, right?
Yeah.
Quick scenario. If I never buy a ticket at the bus terminal before I board the bus, I catch the bus somewhere else along the road, right? And I done the sit down and the conductor come now and say, okay, well, boss, $5 to go find today.
Yeah.
But all along it's been $4.
Stay up on the bus.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I understand that.
It'll create a stink if they attempt to remove you off the bus because they're raising the price illegally. That will create a,
I understand
a firestorm that they're not prepared for.
But for people who access the bus at the terminal, you'll have to decide if you're willing to pay the extra $1 or protest and sit it out, because as we mentioned, it is illegal. But this will definitely be something we'll be following. Anyone viewing right now, tuning in, I see some people commenting, one person saying, yes, we can choose to take the lick. I'm assuming this has to do with the ticket stubs. And yes, that goes to the point that I was mentioning. You get to decide if you want to pay the extra, at least until this matter is addressed. But moving things along, I see April tuning in again. We have her saying, good morning, guys. Great conversation. These bus operators want to raise prices and still remain inefficient. It's laughable at this point. Yeah, and of course, that's something, April, that we all know that the Ministry of Transport is actively working on bringing in fleets of buses to improve the quality of service that you're getting. And you know, the buses in general, that has been a continuous concern from people. Sonia Singh saying we need to commute, so we have to pay what they demand. And that's to the point that I was mentioning for those who maybe don't have an option. You need to get the work 8 o'clock. You can't tell your boss, you know, I never catch the bus, or I late 1 hour late because I never want to pay $1 extra. And so in some cases, the bus association or these private companies, they understand that they do serve a purpose, and they are filling a gap that is necessary. I believe we had the bus association on the couch speaking of the amount of services or the amount of runs that they account for separate from the national bus company.
The law is the law, right?
Yeah.
You can't say that notwithstanding the situation that you're faced with, you're going to break the law. That the law will understand why it is being broken. That not work like that.
Yeah.
So if they're telling you it's unlawful to raise the price, then you have to at some point sit down and work something out. But you can't raise the price on your own because the law says you cannot do that. All right, but let me move on.
Yeah.
Major situation happening down south, right? So over the past few days, actually from last week, we were reporting on a looming crisis. I want to describe it as such, right? A looming crisis down south in Indian Creek. This was last week, right? But things came to a head in the past 2 or 3 days where the first alcalde of Indian Creek Village, Marcus Kante, has been taken. And despite our search efforts yesterday, they're unable to locate him. Now, that's the story that all of you guys know, right? But what is important here is to go all the way back and provide the actual context, because this never just happened in isolation, right? So I want to kind of jog back to 2010. This would have been June 29th, right? Now here we go. The Supreme Court of Belize, all the way back in 2010, ruled in favor of the Maya community in respect of communal land rights, right? So this was a decision, I think it was one of the last decisions handed down by former Chief Justice Abdoulaye Conte, in which he was saying that all 38 of the Maya communities, 33 from Toledo District and 5 from Stan Creek District, do have rights to communal lands and what have you. This was before it was later ascended to the CCJ, right? But here's the thing. All of that, in terms of the decision and the congregation of Maya people following that decision, happened right there in Indian Creek. I recall, because I was the actual reporter who was sent down to cover that. And the flashpoint that we're seeing now, it's 16 years later. And instead of this decision and the subsequent CCJ decision bringing the Maya people closer together where communal land rights are concerned, it has only driven a wedge amongst them, right? Yes. It has driven a wedge between residents of Indian Creek primarily. If you're following, half of the village not there with the alcalde and this traditional system. The other half there with the village council and want to have title for their lands and so on, right?
Before we continue, Isani, I just want to quickly make mention that there has been a report on another station down south. This comes from PGTV, that the alcalde from Indian Creek has been found alive and well. He is currently with the police and has been taken to the hospital. So I know that we will be following this up further.
Yes, all right. Excellent, right? So the only thing though, we still need to confirm that. Yeah. The reason I'm saying that I'm being very careful is because on Monday night they said the same thing and it turned out not to be true. So that just to be categorically clear, still needs to be confirmed, right? But going back to what I was saying, so now the village is torn in two, right? Some for, some against. And in the middle are other private landowners who operate in the area, including the Yakshe Conservation Trust, right? So apparently, Alcalde Kanti has been giving out land certificates against the warnings, if I could use that description, of the government. So it can't take it by own for just start hand out land paper. That's a function for the Ministry of Natural Resources, right? The Lands Department. So even though you're an advocate for communal land rights,
Or a leader
there are
in your
certain
community.
processes that have to take place that are above your office, so to speak. That's a full government function. Anyway, so man go ahead and give away 280 land title, which actually cuts into property owned by Yakshe and other private landholders in the area. Well, naturally, this creates a situation. So if you and I are neighbors, right? And my fence line determines the dimensions of my property, and you move my fence line and you build your fence closer into my property, are problems that they look
Yeah.
for.
People
And
not
that's
play
just a
with land.
simple example. That's
Yeah.
the most basic example of a land dispute.
Land
right?
tear families apart.
Yes.
You think you are create a
And land and murderation, as we say it in
exactly.
Creole, right?
Exactly.
So you could understand how heated this issue has become. But in all of it, the tension between the chairpersons and the alcaldes should not lead to any kind, and I'm just being honest here, it shouldn't have to escalate to any form of physical violence or abduction or anything of that sort.
For me, what was so disturbing was the video footage that came out that we shared last night in the newscast as well. Him speaking in his
Oh, the audio clip where,
Yeah, the audio
where he
clip.
recorded that and was asking for help and then
that
spoke in
was
Kekchi.
that,
Yeah.
that gave me goosebumps, Isani, because it's clear that there's a message that was being sent for something like that to have happened, to have been released even. But hearing excuse me, hearing from the Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, I have to wonder if this is something that we can see ourselves reaching a point of agreement across the board. I mean, it's something, as you mentioned, Isani, over a decade ago you've been covering. And do we anticipate that a decade from now we'll still be talking about this? Where
Well,
we're
here's
trying
the
to
thing.
strike a balance to figure out what weight does one hold over the other?
Well, here's the thing. This goes all the way back to 2007, right?
So actually 20 years ago.
It goes roughly 20 years ago. So it goes all the way back to 2007. But in the first instance, it only included 2 communities in the south. By the time it went through our court system, it then included 38 communities by 2010, right? Then, as I mentioned earlier, it was challenged. The decision of former Chief Justice Conte was challenged, and it made its way all the way to the CCJ. The CCJ reaffirmed Abdullah Conte's decision back in 2010, and these people were supposed to have worked together to formalize a consent order, and out of that would come the Maya land tenure policy or what have you. We're still not there yet. Up to last year, I believe, Senior Counsel Andrew Marshalek litigated on behalf of the government, and there was another lawyer, I'm trying to remember her name, it escapes me at the
Miss
moment.
Leslie?
Leslie Mendez, there we go, was litigating on behalf of the claimants in Maya community. And that, in my opinion, didn't end, in a sense where it's satisfactory to both sides. It kind of just
Or really gave proper
fell
clarity,
flat.
yeah?
Yeah, right? So we still don't have clarity upon this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's been all these many years later. So if you're asking me now, if 10 years down the road this thing will be resolved, it remains to be seen, right? It remains to be seen. But it is a very, very divisive issue down south. When you look at Indian Creek is only one of the communities that they're bucking heads over this whole thing. You have Big Falls, that's right after Indian Creek, if you're traveling south towards PG. Big Falls feel the same way too, right? Some people are like, yo, we're not there with that. We want for your own land title. We're not there on the communal land thing, right? But they have to find a way in which there has to be some kind of agreement. Open the thing up. So who want their own parcel and the title, allow them to do that. Who want to share their land based on the traditional form, allow them to do that, right? But at this point, they're either one or the other. And that creates the kind of tension that we're seeing down south right now. If you look at how the villagers in Indian Creek went to the chairman's house on Monday night, man got
Vandalize
machete.
the property.
Yeah, man got machete, man they out there as a mob.
That must be
Right?
so scary. That must be so scary to think of. You know, you are trying to follow the law because this is the chairman, right? You
Yeah.
try to follow the law, and you know, many people tuning in right now might support more the law, the village council system. But then you have indigenous people who feel passionately that they are entitled to what they are entitled to because of, you know, being a part of this heritage and being a part of this community. And so for them to feel that they were wronged and then coming to your property with you and your family there, the stone, the vandalize, that must be so scary.
Well, I don't know if Yakshare had a representative at the field station when this group of people went to vandalize the property, but they too took some damages in terms of the infrastructure, the facility that they had there at the field station, right? Which is, again, totally unlawful. You can't just take the law into your own hand and decide because, oh, you want this, you just have broke up everything or bonfire up on the road and different things like that, right? So at this point, though, when we interviewed the minister who's responsible for Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Dr. Louis Sabani, yesterday, he's saying that they're keeping a close eye on it. But keeping a close eye on it, in my humble opinion, isn't enough at this point, right? Not when it's potential to escalate to violence. You can't just keep an eye on it. Certain things are for the police department. I get it. I understand. But perhaps there has to be some kind of more direct intervention. You have the minister who's also an area representative. That's within the Toledo West constituency, right? So you have Oscar Requena. Then you have his brother Gustavo Requena, who deals with Indigenous Peoples Affairs directly. Then you have the minister whose responsibility includes Indigenous Peoples Affairs. So while Dr. Zabani did say that yes, the three of them are looking at this issue and are trying to address it as properly, I think they have to move on this thing post haste. It's been long, it's far too long, and they still can't resolve it yet.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be following this, Hisani. I know that time is running out. I believe that we were trying to acquire just a clip of that story that Hisani mentioned he did almost 2 decades ago. But as Hisani mentioned, it really puts into perspective how long they have been working towards finding some sort of clarity and a clear line on separating the two and determining what role both of them play. I believe it was last year, Hisani, I remember us trying to have sort of like a debate of sorts, discussing you know, the weight of each side, the weight of the village council versus the alcalde system. I believe it was a different situation at that time, but it's definitely one of those topics that stirs up quite a lot of emotions on both sides, and it could get heated if you're not careful. And in this case, even if it's the same thing that took place, you could be at risk of your safety.
This is my understanding, right? The village council works in terms of the governance of the village, the community, right? That's why you have a village council chair and all of the councillors, so to speak. The alcalde system falls within what we would consider the broader justice system. So there are two different things, right? The alcalde system is if, for instance, you run afoul of your neighbor and your neighbor has a complaint. The alcalde then comes in as sort of like a magistrate, so to speak, to kind of mediate things and work things out, so to speak. That's like the fundamental form of justice and then it moves up from there, as we say, all the way to the CCJ, if you want to put it that way, for Belize. But the point that I'm making is, my understanding is that the village council system completely different from the alcalde system. So, but in most cases, then with a mixed hamadili, right? So we conflate the two things and say, well, okay, they're one and the same. No, they're not. There's two different things.
Yeah.
When we studied social studies all the way back in primary school, that was what was established from the onset, is that the alcalde system deals with justice, right? The village council system deals with, okay, well, all the other issues that have to do with governing the community.
Yeah.
Right? But in this case, when I deal with tradition, some people are diehard and other people are progressive. Other people will say, well, look, let's go in a different direction. Speaking of going in a different direction, all right, so we're coming back now to the story that was aired in 2010. This was in the immediate wake of the decision of Abdoulaye Conte with respect of the Maya land rights and communal lands. There we go.
All right. So paint a picture, Isani, of what was taking place here.
All right. So this was the celebration, right? So when the ruling was handed down in the Supreme Court here in Belize City, all the Maya men, women, and children who came up for that landmark ruling in 2010 journeyed back to Indian Creek Village, where there was this whole celebration, right? This was a decision that resounded across the Maya community 16 years ago, roughly. So the juxtaposition that I'm making here, Sab, is that 16 years ago, there was this sense of unity, and you know what, we've fought long and hard for us to be recognized and our communal land system to be recognized. This is in Indian Creek in 2010, and the face of it all in terms of the movement was Christina Koch.
Yes, I see her there.
Yesterday I saw her in another media house. She's still the face of it in terms of the Maya Leaders Alliance, right? And the work that they've been doing with these communities in the South. Fast forward to today, as I'm saying, it's night and day. This very same location where all of this was done in June 2010, all of it has been undone in April 2026, right? So what you're seeing here was an interview that Christina gave to me following that decision, and of course a celebration of what they had accomplished. Now this was led in large part by Antoinette Moore, who's now a justice of the High Court, right? So Antoinette Moore was their lawyer, and this was taken from a human rights perspective first and foremost, right? And they were able to successfully argue on behalf of the Maya communities. Remember I said earlier, it's 33 in Toledo district plus 5 in Stan Creek, which makes 38 indigenous communities, right? Now, jogging my memory once again, this was difficult in a sense to grasp. I would want to say emotionally and psychologically, because when I sat in the courtroom leading up to this decision that was handed down, I recall Lois Young Barrow, who argued on behalf of the government at the time, completely dismissing these people as they're not being indigenous to Belize. The argument at the time was that they're Koya, so they're not entitled to any communal land or whatsoever. And so it was successfully argued, right? I think the professor who argued on the community's behalf was Professor Robert Wilkes. He successfully argued that these people are in fact indigenous to Belize and should be entitled to communal lands. Well, that swayed the Chief Justice at the time, and he ruled in their favor. But all of this was what, if you could feel the tension in the court and then you could feel the tension being released in Indian Creek, you would understand exactly how this thing came to be. And then again, if you come to today and you realize nothing that really changed, as a matter of fact, it feels as though they've regressed more than they've progressed, It's an interesting state of affairs.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be following this. I know there's a commenter who mentioned that the alcalde has been found alive, according to another TV station. As we mentioned, we will be confirming that and providing that update. So stay tuned to our social media pages. I see another person saying in some community village council, they take it as politics. And that's true, you know, there's a lot of people who have their own thoughts on the village council system as well. And so we definitely acknowledge all sides, but we appreciate your comments. Another person saying none of it justifies violence.
Yes.
And that is true. But at this time, we do have to close off this portion of the show. Thank you for everyone who has been commenting. I see comments on the bus association topic, those who have been paying extra fares. I see one person saying, I think it's just unfair that people do things because they have power. We can raise our concerns, but we gotta pay for the fee. There are people who feel strongly about that and think that they shouldn't be paying these additional bus fares. But of course, there are people who also have no other option. But let us know if you are subject to paying additional fees at this time when you catch the local bus. We will be taking our first break now, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Hidalgo as he talks about life-saving ICU interventions.
Belize wakes up connected to opportunity. And across our country, the work to keep Belize connected continues. SMART continues expanding our network across the country, bringing stronger coverage to more communities. With recent service enhancements in areas at Blue Creek and Progresso, Belize City, Orange Walk, and more on the way. We're bringing education closer to home, empowering entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, supporting industries that drive our economy, and keeping families connected wherever life takes them. With every expansion, we are investing in the infrastructure that moves Belize forward. Because connection isn't just about signal, it's about opportunity, progress, and the future we are building together. SMART, bringing people together.
Maria's was planned to open in 2020, and that's when COVID came. I thought the dream was dead. People would come to my house, they would purchase the coffees from there. That gave me the little confidence, like, okay, I could do this. Atlantic Bank, of course, helped me take the next step. Once I had their support, it was smooth sailing from there. This business is my life. It's literally what provides my family with food and employment. I employ 3 family members, so it's really everything for us.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Electricity is essential for everyday life, but behind every outlet, a lot is happening to bring you safe, reliable, and sustainable energy. Let's start at the beginning. Independent power producers across Belize generate electricity using a mix of renewable and non-renewable resources. Electricity travels across a network of high-voltage transmission lines capable of transmitting electricity across long distances. Electricity then reaches your nearest substation, where it is adjusted to a lower voltage, making it safe to travel on the distribution lines you see in your community. From there, electricity makes its final journey from the distribution lines to your home, providing you with safe and reliable power when you need it. Belize Electricity Limited. We continue to serve you.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word.
The Bible says, "To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some." One of the great lessons I have learned in Belize has been flexibility. I've learned to work with what I had, to adapt to power shortages, plane schedules, work schedules, and to broaden my circle of friends to include some who may not be as strong in some ways as I am. I suppose I've learned to bend without breaking and not become so rigid that I become frigid or cold. We all need to learn the lesson of flexibility. I read the story of the famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who had the daunting challenge of designing Tokyo's Imperial Hotel. No such project had ever been attempted. In a land of earthquakes, Wright planned carefully. In preparation for the foundation, he discovered 8 feet below the ground surface lay 60-foot bed of soft mud. He decided to float the great structure on this mud and in some way make it absorb the shock of the earthquakes. Skeptics jeered and ridiculed the project that took 4 years. However, soon after its completion, one of the worst earthquakes in 52 years struck, bringing down homes and buildings, but the Imperial Hotel stood tall, as it was able to adjust itself to the tremors of the environment. How flexible are you? May we learn from the Apostle Paul how to bend without breaking.
Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
And welcome back. Joining us for our first conversation this morning is Dr. Jorge Hidalgo. He's an internist and he's no stranger to Open Your Eyes. Good morning, Dr. Hidalgo.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
And accompanying him is Dr. Ryan Maves. He's a critical care physician. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning.
Maves.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You gentlemen are joining us this morning to have a conversation on life-saving ICU interventions. I think with a focus on sepsis, correct?
That's correct.
Good. For the benefit of ourselves and our viewers, kindly explain to us what is sepsis and what can be done in a situation where you're faced with a crisis situation stemming from sepsis.
We're allowed to my guest too.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, so sepsis is one of those broad terms in medicine. It's like cancer. Cancer is not one disease. Sepsis is not one disease. But when we say that someone has sepsis, what we mean is that they have a life-threatening infection. That is to say that an infection that puts them at a 15 to 20% risk of death within the next several days, right? And that can be pneumonia, that can be a kidney infection, it can be a wound infection, it can be a wide variety of things, but they share certain things in common, and one of those things that's in common is the need to intervene rapidly. Because it's so spread out, so many different things can cause it, it's tricky to talk to communities about how do you recognize sepsis, because it's never one thing. There are some key features, and one of the things we're going to be working on with colleagues here in Belize over the next few days is how do we develop systems that help families, that help patients, help community health workers and the like identify the patient at risk so that we can get them treated as quickly as possible.
So the focus is more on the patient or the caretaker recognizing the symptoms that could potentially lead to sepsis, or recognizing sepsis ahead of time?
I think that's one big part of it. It's certainly not the only part, but that's the key initial step, right? It's just like when we teach people about how to recognize signs of a heart attack or a stroke. If you don't recognize a heart attack or a stroke, you're not going to be able to get those time-critical interventions that could potentially save that person's life, right?
Is there a particular study or maybe data being collected that proves the need for discussions like this? Are we seeing more cases of sepsis in the country or even in the region, Doc?
Well, one of the things are very important is that sepsis is responsible for around 49 to 50 million cases of this sepsis around the world.
Okay.
I mean that approximately the 20% of the cases of mortality around the world are related with sepsis. In that sense, the importance of that, and for the last 2 decades, if not more, the Society of Critical Care Medicine has been, along with the European Society of Critical Care Medicine, they putting together that we call it the Surviving Sepsis Campaign Guidelines. And fortunately, Dr. Ryan and myself have been involved in during this time in many parts of the guidelines and lately. And one of the key parts is that despite we have the guidelines, sometimes one of the challenge is how we are going to apply certain things in countries where we don't have all this luxury of resources.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean that from that, then a couple years ago, we are part, due to a grant for the Laerdal Foundation, Society of Critical Care Medicine, along with the World Health Organization, we start to create something that we call it guidelines for the low resource settings. I mean, we start with we call it a Delphi study, and we essentially was asked to do that, a Delphi study to identify the gaps that we face in low resource setting countries and see how we can address that. But during the process, we was asked to produce 1 paper, and we luckily ended to produce 4 papers.
4 papers, yeah.
All right, so Dr. Maves, you're
Yes,
here at the invitation of Dr. Hidalgo.
Yeah.
Is there an upcoming symposium or activity that has you here?
Yeah, so for the next 2 days, Dr. Hidalgo and I, along with, and again, this event is sponsored by the organization that we're both members of, the Society of Critical Care Medicine, but the funding for this training is coming from a group called the Laerdal Foundation, and they support a lot of time-critical, life-saving intervention trainings around the world, really starting with CPR. Community CPR is something, bystander CPR is something that the Laerdal Foundation, that's really where they got their start. And we've been very happy with their support. And then, of course, also working with WHO, with the World Health Organization and the Pan American Health Organization. And so Dr. Hidalgo has coordinated a lot of this with, well, I should rephrase that, coordinated all of this with, with our colleagues here in Belize, with both the Ministry of Health and clinicians, surgeons, nurses, and the like, policymakers to come together. And really what we're going to focus on for the next couple days here is looking at, this is the science, these are the gaps, right? And the solution is going to be different in every place. And what constitutes a low resource setting when we think about critical care or sepsis or any kind of emergency medical intervention is going to vary. I mean, I practice in the United States at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. I'm in a 900-bed university hospital. I have every toy I could ever want, right? But you drive 2 hours and you're in the middle of the countryside in the mountains with no roads and limited running water. And so is that place, even though they're only 2 hours away from me, is that a low resource setting? If there's no hospital nearby, if there's no one to care for that person, that's a low resource setting.
It's interesting you make that comparison, Doc, because when we look at our society and we look at rural Belize, for instance, right? So you have the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital here in Belize City, you have all of these other private institutions here in Belize City.
Right.
But when you look at certain far-flung areas of the country, these people may not necessarily have access to,
Again, if I keel over in front of Jorge, I'm going to be fine, right? But if I do it, on the road,
or somewhere in Toledo District, for instance.
Or even in rural North Carolina, that's a different story. And the solution in those settings, rural care where I work, rural care in Belize have to be different.
Yeah.
And so really the point of what we're going to be working on is figure out, well, not necessarily to solve the problem in the next 2 days, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice, but I mean, come on.
You got to be practical.
But to see, okay, what are the gaps? And then how can we go about addressing those gaps, right? Could they be issues of transportation? Could they be issues of training community health workers in Toledo District, for example, to recognize the potentially septic patient? How do we improve diagnostic capabilities? And I will say a lot of what, I don't know, Jorge may not agree with me this, a lot of what we do in the intensive care unit, it's hard to know. There's sort of this famous line in medical education where a professor comes out and says, half of what we teach you is wrong, we just don't know which half it is.
Oh my goodness, don't tell us that.
I mean, that's
comforting.
It's a joke. It's a joke,
Yeah.
and it's just meant to reflect that science always advances, right?
Yeah.
That we have not completed our task. That there's always something more to know. And when I look at the work that I do in the ICU, I recognize that not all of it has the same value, right? Some of the things I do, that we do, is life-saving. Some of it is variable. And so what we try to figure out is, okay, what are the priority things that we are sure has value? Let's focus on doing that first, right? Let's focus on making sure if people are dehydrated, we've given them fluids. Let's make sure if they're infected, we give them antibiotics. If they're in shock, let's treat their shock, right? If they need oxygen, we give them oxygen. All of the other things we may deprioritize. Let's focus on the stuff that we know can save lives. And that actually, I think, has lessons for medical care around the world. I think that we have neglected for too long the lessons on the care of the life-threatening infection by focusing so much on what happens in high-resource settings like where I work. But there are actually, I think, a lot of valuable lessons in figuring out what do we do actually makes a difference, and what do we do is, on some level, theater. You know, and those priorities, I think, benefit all of us.
It's interesting that you call it theater, but you know, I would love to hear from Dr. Hidalgo in putting the microscope on Belize and where we are with, you know, being called low resource setting.
Well, so we are not saying Belize is a low resource setting.
Well, I'm asking at this
But we are
point.
saying that there are low resource settings in Belize and around the world. Right?
But what would attribute to that if you take a look at Belize and perhaps certain healthcare providing facilities? Is it an issue of human resource, or is it an issue of maybe not having the adequate technology to provide care as quickly as possible?
Well, when we analyze those, it's usually there are many things that we need to have into account. No? I mean that I'm luckily and I'm happy to that I'm in Belize for the last 23 years. And looking back, when I came to Belize in 2002, and how Belize has been evolved, I'm happy to say that definitely we'll be able to accomplish many things. There are a lot of things that need to be done for the country, but I think so we are able to advance a lot. I mean, one of the things with this particular program is that we are promoting or we're involved in something that we call it the 10 for 10 initiative, where we are selecting 10 countries to do this exercise. And I'm very happy that Belize is one of the countries that was chose to do that, and that's why we are here today to analyze with the policymaker people, because and then we will have Ministry of Health, we will have NHI, we will have the public, private institutions, the EMT, and we'll be able to openly discuss what are the gaps that we have when it comes to particularly sepsis, because what we don't want is we want trying to reduce the amount of people getting into the ICU for something that is preventable.
Yes. Yes. Well, then let's take the conversation back to where it started. Spotting specific signs and when to know or how you know if you might be at risk of sepsis. This is for persons who are caretakers. This is for patients at this time who are suffering from life-threatening illnesses.
Yeah.
What are some practical tips or information you could share?
Well, I think probably one of the simplest ones, and perhaps the most sensitive, is delirium. That is confusion, waxing and waning level of consciousness, right? Because one of the definitions of sepsis is infection with organ dysfunction, right? Delirium is brain failure, right? If you are caring for a loved one and they are not as responsive as they should be, if they're not answering questions, if they're being nonsensical, that would be a potential warning sign. Obviously, things like fever, rapid heart rate, pallor.
What's pallor?
Pallor is, being pale, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. but clammy, clammy skin. Rapid heart, breathing very rapidly is one of the more sensitive signs of critical illness.
Yeah.
It means that your body's trying to keep up with metabolic demand that it's not able to meet. Those are all useful ones, I think. And those are ones that we can all recognize. And I think that's actually one of the places where family plays the biggest role, because you know that person best. You know what that person is supposed to be like. Right, and you are often best situated to recognize a change and recognize that this is an emergency.
No,
so sepsis, I would want to think perhaps leads to septic shock.
That is
right?
the kind of the final stage of septic shock. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Walk us through that in terms of being able to determine that is taking place.
Sure. Well, I would say this: at the bedside of a family member is not going to be in a position to assess if someone is in septic shock, right?
Okay.
That requires a clinical evaluation by an expert. It requires, unless you happen to have a good way to measure low blood pressure and lactic acid in your home, I think the more important thing is recognizing the change, right? The alteration in level of consciousness, the rapid breathing, maybe the thready heart rate, difficult to feel their pulse, things like that that anyone can be trained to recognize easily. Septic shock is kind of the more severe part of the sepsis spectrum, and a large number of those people will die. Even in a big fancy hospital like mine, about 20 to 25% of those people will die with all the things that I have to offer them.
Do you have a time period that a person, or a window that a person could have or would have if they are not provided the care? This
actually gets to one of the challenges we have in low resource settings is time. When did that person become septic, right? And there's some interesting differences in outcomes. There have been a number of clinical trials of looking at very simple sepsis interventions these are in sub-Saharan Africa, right? Where, one of the basic things we do for people with sepsis is we give them intravenous fluids, right? They're often very dehydrated, they're often not delivering blood flow to their organs, and so we give them a couple liters of intravenous fluid to try to fill up the tank, right? This is a basic intervention, and it is associated with improved outcomes in most settings. But so there have been a number of trials looking at that very basic thing, IV fluids, in areas of sub-Saharan Africa, and people did worse, right? They actually did worse. And one of the reasons for that might be delays in presentation, that took that person 3 days to get to the hospital, right? That there is some inflection point in timing where the longer you wait, the worse off it's going to be. We don't know that exact inflection point yet, and that is the thing we're hoping to learn. What I can say is when I see someone become septic in front of my eyes in the hospital, I know that I'm on the clock. And we have recommendations for you should deliver antibiotics within a certain number of hours, ideally within 1. In certain cases, it can be up to 3. We have guidelines on how quickly we should deliver those people fluids. But there's that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? That's just the time that Dr. Hidalgo and I have seen that person, right? What I don't know is what happened to them beforehand. We do know that the longer a person is in shock with low blood pressure, that their risk of dying goes up by about 8% per hour until they get an antibiotic that treats the infection they actually have. And so we know that there is a time component, and that time component is measured in hours, it's not in days.
Going back to the event that's set to take place, who will be present at this event? Is this an opportunity for nurses, doctors, and other persons to hear steps that are being taken and possible policies that will be in place?
Yes, one of the things is this is a very technical meeting, I mean that more than a training session is just to, with these stakeholders that we believe are key, we want to discuss the sepsis, the change of events, and what are the different areas and opportunities that we need to address, specifically to educate our community. I mean, that many of that is on the change, sepsis awareness to the health providers, the community, the level of response, mean that essentially recognizing that sepsis is time sensitive, as well as having a heart attack of a stroke. In those categories, we consider that sepsis is time sensitive. You know, we need to discuss how we can implement and put some policies in action to avoid that those patients got to the hospital too late. No? And we need to have like a secure a continuum of care, since someone recognizing, making sure that the people, the transportation is doing in a safe way, knowing that the patient is septic and trying to reach the healthcare facilities as early as possible to prevent that. I mean that in those in the meeting we will have NHI, we will have Ministry of Health, private institutions, we have EMT present. I mean that trying to have all the people involved in the continuum of care to be able to see, okay, you know what, I believe we need to strengthen our transport system, we need to strengthen this area, or we have gaps in that area. And probably, since we did the first pilot in Kenya a couple of weeks ago, we'll do it in Belize, and hopefully by the end of this 10 by 10 we'll be able to have some conclusion and some recommendations of how to address that.
All right. Well, gentlemen, as we wrap up this conversation, I'll ask if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers as it relates to this event, and Dr. Hidalgo, any future projects or initiatives that we can expect from your leadership, and of course collaborations as well.
Well, one of the most important things we want to stress also is that Belize is part of this initiative. We are part of that. We are part of these publications, and one of the things I mentioned to you guys the last time is we are trying to promote our young physicians to get involved. In part of these publications, we have Dr. Tania Morejon, Dr. Amanda Vasquez, Dr. Sidney Thornton, who are young physicians, young generation that they are also want to be part of that, and they are taking part of this action.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say, when working on these projects, I always learn so much more from the people who I have the pleasure of working with than I've ever taught any of them. And I couldn't be more excited to be here in Belize, and so grateful to Jorge and to our society and to the Lairdell Foundation and to you for the opportunity to come here. So thank you so much. This is part of what we're talking about. Increasing awareness begins with these sorts of public outreach, and we're very grateful to all of you for this chance. Thank you.
Well, thank you as well, and we wish you gentlemen all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, before we take a quick break, I want to engage you guys in our motivational quote this morning, and it comes from Anne Frank. It goes like this: "How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment to improve the world." Beautiful.
Beautiful indeed.
At this point, we take another quick break, but don't go anywhere. Our next conversation is Israel United in Christ engages community with outreach.
heart of the Kaya district, Calico Jacks is proving that sustainability and success can go hand in hand.
When Calico Jacks wanted to move to solar energy, the biggest difficulty for us was the finance. Belize Bank believed in our vision, and we are very happy and grateful that they gave us this opportunity for the financing.
Through the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, a partnership between Belize Bank and the CARICOM Development Fund, small and medium businesses can access financing for renewable and energy-efficient solutions with reduced collateral requirements.
Here at SCSB, we're grateful for Belize Bank to make it easier for our clients to go green. We're proud to work with businesses like Calico Jacks to help them lower their costs and their carbon footprint.
At Belize Bank, we are powering Belize's transition to renewable energy, one business at a time. Together with our partners, we're making sustainable financing accessible for all.
Belize Bank, financing a greener, stronger Belize.
We at Fulltech Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Fulltech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomy. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
Haven't updated your information recently? Well, kick off the new year as a winner. RF&G Insurance is giving you a free chance to win every month. Entering is easy. Just chat with us on WhatsApp and update your information. That's it. You'll be automatically entered into our monthly raffle for a chance to win awesome prizes. Don't wait. Message us on WhatsApp and update your info today. RF&G Insurance. It pays to get it right.
The success of my business means a lot to my family, especially my brother, because I'm continuing his legacy, making butterfly art collages. It was very hard for me to receive payments. I had to go directly to meet the person I'm purchasing from and who I'm selling to receive payment. Because I opened my business account with Atlantic Bank, now I can make and receive payments online, and this has made my job much easier.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Mornings with the kids are always busy, but having the space we need makes life easier. With the Jack T8, we have the comfort, reliability, and space we need. With fully breathable leather seats, 6-speed manual transmission, 9-inch LCD screen with Apple CarPlay and Android, 4-cylinder, fully turbo diesel, and space for my entire family. We can count on Jack to get us there safely and comfortably.
Need a fresh new kitchen, flip that switch ignition. G appliances shine. Every knob, every line, all align and turn the shower on. Feel gold, cooler in the chrome. So bold from the ties to the tiny screws. We've got the wow you'll choose. All in one place, Design Depot. Everything you need for the life you want. Let's go! From the floor to the paint to the patio glow. Build it up, light it up. Watch your dream home grow. All in one place. All in one place. All in one place. All in one place. All in one place.
Design
people, all in one place.
Belize wakes up connected to opportunity. And across our country, the work to keep Belize connected continues. SMART continues expanding our network across the country, bringing stronger coverage to more communities. With recent service enhancements in areas at Blue Creek and Progresso, Belize City, Orange Walk, and more on the way. Where bringing education closer to home, empowering entrepreneurs to grow their businesses, supporting industries that drive our economy, and keeping families connected wherever life takes them. With every expansion, we are investing in the infrastructure that moves Belize forward. Because connection isn't just about signal, it's about opportunity, progress, and the future we are building together. SMART, bringing people together.
Insurance fact. Did you know with Home Protector Insurance, home and property insurance does not only cover hurricane and fire? Your lifetime investment will also be protected from explosions, water damage, malicious damage, and more. So you can rest easy knowing your home is protected. Visit any Home Protector Insurance office near you to learn more.
Every idea starts with a curious mind. You're the girls who will build the future.
And that's what Girls in Tech is all about, helping you learn, discover, and see what is possible.
Each of you, if you want, you can be the innovators of the future.
The long-term objectives is to amplify their minds and the opportunities.
Welcome back. We are jumping into our next conversation, and it's all about Israel United in Christ engaging community with their latest outreach. We are joined this morning by three representatives. We have here with us Captain Noah Israel. Also with us is two officers. We have Lamadia Israel and Ari Israel. Just by the names, I think we can guess these gentlemen, they're related somehow. I just recently learned they're brothers. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
Now, Israel United in Christ. Let's begin there. The name of the organization, what do you guys stand for?
So just as the name is, that's what we stand for. We are the Israelites, and we're uniting our people according to Christ. This Bible instructs us who we are and what we're supposed to do as the Israelites. Most of our people don't know that we do come from the book. I know there's this story that there is a Caucasian race who's going to come and he's going to save everybody, but that's not the depiction that's in this Bible. The Bible states that, if we could read it, if you don't mind. Go right ahead. Give me Revelation 1, because most people don't know that our brother looks just like us, the Messiah, Christ. And we read about it in our history book. Go ahead and read that.
Revelations chapter 1 and verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ.
So what John the Revelator is doing, he's revealing to our people, because this is something that's not going to be known in this world. Read.
Which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
So we're going to jump down to verse 14, and it's going to show what the image of Christ really looks like. Read.
Verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool.
So white and woolly, just like my hair is turning gray right now. It's saying that Christ's hair was white and woolly, just like mine. Read.
As white as snow. And his eyes.
His was fully white though, not like mine. Mine's still a little blackish, but his is fully white. Go ahead.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire. And his feet like unto fine brass.
So when we get to the brass color, you will be talking about tones like your tone, his tone, our tone. So when we say that we're brothers, this is where we're getting at. that we are brothers in Christ, brothers and sisters in Christ. Read.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
Now, if you burn anything, what color is it going to be?
It's black. It's blackened.
So, how did we get this image of Christ being any other color but like us? So, when we dig deep into that, what would that really mean for us? If a man says that he's going to come and save his people, his chosen people, well, who is he going to come save? His own brethren, his own people, the people that look like him, that resemble him, that he taught through these scriptures what to do and what we're capable of.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful way to open the conversation. It almost feels pre-recorded. I'm listening to you guys talk. But it sets such an interesting tone, because when we think of faith and Christianity, oftentimes, depending on who you talk to, there's a story of how it got to particular lands, right? Through colonization,
Right.
Some would say through control. And then, of course, there's a discussion around color of who this Messiah is.
Right.
Why is it important, though, for us to differentiate versus just acknowledging what the message is?
One, I'll refer to John 8:32 to answer the question first and foremost, because everything that we do is based on the Bible. And I don't want to give you my opinion, my emotions on what I think should be said. I want to get exactly what our ancestors said to us in these days. Read that.
It's the book of John, chapter 8 and verse 32. And you shall know the truth.
So that is the exact thing that we want our people to see, that it is the truth. So when you base something on a lie, you're going to live up to that lie. And when you find out that you don't live up to the standard of the lie, then that's what created this, our youth violence. Our people are going through an identity crisis, trying to be like something that they never are. And when they fall short, it goes into depression. When we're depressed, it goes into drugs and other things. So read that again.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So the truth is going to free us from that, we'll say, violent mentality. Some people are dealing with drugs and other things to soothe themselves or comfort themselves, but it hadn't worked. And speaking of comfort, can I get one more? What is it, Romans 12? I'm going to start at Romans 12. 15:4. We want to comfort ourselves in something, and knowing the truth of who we are. Yeah, we call ourselves Belizeans. It's just the same as the Greeks will call themselves Greeks or Corinthians or Ephesians, but that wasn't their nationality. That's just where they were living. So we have this confusion that everybody looks like the Caucasian Greeks, but no, they were just citizens of Greek. Read that.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
You wanted to interject?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll interject afterwards.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So the things that were written aforetime, those aforetime was all the way back in the times of Adam, because he was made out of the dust of the ground. But when you look at the dust of the ground, the digger the more you dig, the darker it gets, right? Well, Adam was created a brown man, a black man, and his descendants after him would look like us. Now there were other people created, but it's talking about a story of the Israelites and how they came. Read this.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So this book, this is what was written for our learning, so we can learn how to live and navigate on this earth in our time of oppression, and even during the time of blessings when we're in our own land in Israel.
All right, so I've listened intently, right? And what I'm getting, and insofar as my own knowledge of the Bible, any Bible, is that it's open to interpretation, right? Some read the Bible and take what is said in the Bible quite literally. Others look at it conceptually, in a manner of speaking, right? Now, when I listen to you and your references to the soil from which Adam comes, or your references to the burning of the feet and it gets blackened, it sounds a bit conceptual as much as it sounds as if though you're taking what is said in the Bible literally. and perhaps for some viewers, it may be a bit confusing, simply because the Bible has been rewritten so many times and everyone injects his or her own take on the Bible, which makes it a controversial piece of religious literature, right? Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say because that has happened.
Yes.
That has happened. But with the rewriting of this, the King James is the closest to the original language. So when we think about it, how we've been taught, I'll say it like this, how we've been taught is that we can just pull from the Bible and whatever we want to see, we see. But it's not like that. I don't want to get an example because this is ultimately not open for interpretation. It is exactly as it says. Get John 14. If you love me. So Christ said this out of his own mouth, that this is what you're going to do if you say that you love me. If you say that you're my follower, my disciple, my anointed, you're going to do this, and then he'll do something in return. Read.
It's the book of John, chapter 14 and verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments.
That's the thing that we have to learn. It's not open to interpretation. So when you get a job position, they give you the whole layout of what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to act within the company, right? We'll never say that that's open into interpretation. They tell you how to dress, how to talk, and things of that nature. But when it comes to religion, all of a sudden, those rules go out the window. And that's why I'm saying, I understand that that's the sight of people, that you can just open the Bible and this is how I feel, this is what I think it says. But Christ said this, read it again.
If you love me, keep my commandments.
So he said, keep my commandments if you love me. So if you don't want to see your own interpretation, you're going to keep my commandments. Read.
And I will pray the Father.
And he's gonna pray for us. A prayer from Christ means everything, right? Read.
And he will give you another comforter.
And he's going to give you another comfort. That's what we are looking for in this life that we're living in. We're looking for that comfort. So a prayer from Christ is going to give us that, right?
Yeah.
Read.
That he may abide with you forever. Even the Spirit of truth.
The Spirit of truth. That's what he's given us. So now it takes out our interpretation, and he's going to replace what we think and what we feel with what he actually said and what he actually wants us to do.
I feel like to acknowledge Isani's point, when he spoke about interpretation, I think to even add further to that, I think of different denominations that come about, and they have their own interpretation of the Bible, and that's why you have different denominations that all claim to be Christians as well. But I want to engage all of you in the conversation, so let's move things along and go to Lamadia. And give us an idea of the organization, Israel United in Christ. You guys were established in 2003, so that's over 20 years ago. What have you guys been doing? Where are you from? Are you based in Belize? And what's the latest initiative going to be about?
So right now we're working on having a congregation here in Belize. We have congregations all over the world, Africa, every continent, every major city, United States. And what we're doing is we see the condition of our people, the conditions that we're living in. We're living in poverty, we have the worst education, different things like that. So mental health, we've seen that mental health was a big issue in our community.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're dealing with the youth, we're dealing with missing persons, community cleanups. We see the issues that's going on in our community. So with the youth violence resolution seminar, we're giving skills to the youth. That's not being given in school. It's not being given in the community. So things like what the captain was saying, like depression, anxieties, different traumas, like our kids that's dealing with drugs and being in battered homes. So we're going to the schools. We have events scheduled for this week. We're going to the different schools, and we're talking to the kids.
Yeah.
We're talking to the kids and giving them solutions.
So youth violence has been one of the most pervasive social issues that we've been dealing with as Belizeans, right?
Right.
Because of gangs, because of exposure to drugs, and all of
Poverty.
these other things. Poverty,
Yes.
right? When you guys sit down and have a conversation with at-risk youth, for instance, right? What is the message that you're delivering using your faith and, of course, what you expect would be the outcome in terms of relaying that or relating that to them?
Right. So basically, the understanding is where is all the stress coming from? Like a lot of people just don't know the being conscious of where these problems, the origin of the problem is. So the origin of the problem is our connection with God. So what we do is we go in the Bible-based skills and initiatives to give some self-esteem, because a lot of it has to do with self-esteem. A lot has to do with no direction in life. So the Bible gives you direction. That the Bible gives you ways of dealing with your brother, dealing with being a father, being a mother, being a good child. These are different things that they're not learning, in our community. So we grew up. We all come from poverty. We all come from rough neighborhoods. So we know it firsthand. A lot of the people in our organizations are coming out of gangs, coming out from battered relationships. So we're able to give firsthand experience through the Bible, through the Bible's lens.
How important is it, Ari, to have this initiative here in Belize? You gentlemen are connected. You have your roots, Belizean roots, one way or another. How important is it that this initiative reaches as many young people as possible?
Absolutely. So our mission is to preach the gospel to the four corners of the earth. Just like how Christianity was spread and that was used to deploy to destroy us, it's more important that we go and reverse that. Using the same book that was mistaught, the same book that they told us, servants, obey your masters. You know what I mean? Turn the other cheek, so on and so forth. Now we're trying to reverse these generational curses using the same Bible. You know what I mean? So it's more important that we start with that initiative everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we are running a little bit out of time, so we got to get the time, place, and location. When and where and how can people get involved?
Go ahead.
Captain?
So so what we're doing is we're going to be going to two different churches. We're going to go to a Catholic church, with a Catholic high school, as well as we're going to another school on Mahogany Street. So we'll be going there, as well as we'll be on highways and hedges, teaching the people, so they can just. Also, we have a phone number.
Okay.
That you can reach us, and it was at IsraelUnitedInChrist.org. If we can,
Okay, so you mentioned that you'll be reaching out to schools, telling them about the seminars to take place, and then they can reach out to the website, and on the website they can get the phone number?
Yes.
Alrighty. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I feel blessed after a discussion like that, and I'm hoping that many other young people here in this country could take advantage of the healing that comes from knowledge like this.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we take another quick break, but don't go anywhere. We're still on the topic of faith, but next time we'll be discussing the recognition of Bishop Wright's legacy of leadership. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The demand on your business get higher. More productivity, better equipment, and reliable support to keep up with a fast-moving world. At Cellular World Business Solutions, we're ready to help you boost performance across every operation. Don't let outdated technology hold you back. With our certified and supported solutions, your business stays ahead. We supply office equipment, printers, inks, and toners, software licenses, IT system assembly as your Dell Platinum and Cisco partner, appliances, and custom orders tailored to your needs. From startups to large enterprises and renowned institutions, we serve every corner of the country because no industry can afford to fall behind on technology. Let's take your business to the next level. Contact us today at 610-2494. Cellular World Business Solutions, your reliable partner in business success.
Smart for everybody. Smart leading everything. Smart give you everything. Smart offer everything. Smart give you everything. North to the east and the south and the west. Smart are the best. Darling, double up my data and give me all the text. In fact, give me a plan for my family. Unlimited calls, so me like it. And Smart make everybody feel happy. Bringing people together, me want it now. Smart got love for everybody. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. More bundles, data plan. Me want my smartphone, internet in my hand. Call me want my Smart plan. Want it right now. Smart. Stay connected. Stay happy.
The future is calling. Belize Bank. Your future, our commitment.
Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some." One of the great lessons I have learned in Belize has been flexibility. I've learned to work with what I had, to adapt to power shortages, plane schedules, work schedules, and to broaden my circle of friends to include some who may not be as strong in some ways as I am. I suppose I've learned to bend without breaking and not become so rigid that I become frigid or cold. We all need to learn the lesson of flexibility. I read the story of the famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who had the daunting challenge of designing Tokyo's Imperial Hotel. No such project had ever been attempted. In a land of earthquakes, Wright planned carefully. In preparation for the foundation, he discovered 8 feet below the ground surface lay 60-foot bed of soft mud. He decided to float the great structure on this mud and in some way make it absorb the shock of the earthquakes. Skeptics jeered and ridiculed the project that took 4 years. However, soon after its completion, one of the worst earthquakes in 52 years struck, bringing down homes and buildings, but the Imperial Hotel stood tall, as it was able to adjust itself to the tremors of the environment. How flexible are you? May we learn from the Apostle Paul how to bend without breaking. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
joining us for a final conversation this morning is Archbishop His Grace Philip Wright. Good morning.
Good morning.
And he's accompanied this morning by Dr. Cherie Smiling. She's the chair of the Recognition Committee. Good morning, Dr. Smiling.
Good morning.
Smiling Craig. And of course, we have Keisha Leng with us. She's the youth representative, Fellowship Commission Committee member.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's your first time joining us since this achievement last year, this so very lauded achievement for not only the Anglican Church, but for Belize as well. So I'd like to say congratulations, since I'm only just seeing you in person since then, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your legacy first and foremost. There's been so much that you've been doing for the Anglican Church in Belize. And this achievement perhaps puts a cap on what all you've done so far, and perhaps what else is yet to come in terms of your efforts and the work that you've been doing. Let's look back a bit on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Isani and Sabrina. And let me first say thanks for giving us the opportunity to be on the show and talk a bit about, I guess, something that is significant for many of us, and indeed for the nation, when you think about the fact that as a Belizean, you know, and being given this opportunity. When I survey, to be honest with you, when I survey my career, my ministry, to be honest, you do it for the love of it. You do it with a sense of calling, that this is what God is. And you just try your best. And I think these things that happen along the way could be a recognition of your work, but also they come with a tremendous sense of responsibility and accountability. The best way to answer your question in some ways is all I wanted to be was a priest.
Yeah.
You know, if you met me as that 7, 8-year-old boy, all I wanted to be was a priest. And that's what I became. And as a result of that, the work you've done, at some point, your colleagues see it fit to say, well, will you consider becoming a bishop? And obviously last year, again, my colleagues and other members of our, what we call our provincial synod, elected me to be the Archbishop of the West Indies.
How do you maintain humility throughout your religious life and to make these achievements as you go along in terms of being able to spread the word?
Yeah. There was a good friend of mine, she's passed on now, but she used to always tell me, Philip, to thine own self be true. And I think part of what that means is you really don't want these things to get to your head. And you just want to do your best, to be honest. When I step up in the pulpit, when I put on these robes and I step out, I always remind myself, I am you. I'm a human being like everybody else, subject to all the things that a human being could be subject to. But for the grace of God, I feel I have an opportunity to represent something greater than myself. And so if you can remind yourself, I guess, that truly in this life you're always seeking to represent something greater than yourself, to me that's the key to humility. Because
I know we're here to acknowledge your legacy, but I want to go back to what you mentioned of being a little boy wanting to be a priest. What was it about priesthood that attracted you and made you desire that path?
You know, it's an interesting question, and the answer almost is too simple to be true, but I'll be honest, the desire started from I was about 7 years old. And what was the magic? I used to see the priests at the altar all dressed up. And in this 7-year-old boy's eyes, they look like mini Jesuses, you know. And I wanted to be a mini Jesus, you know, not in the sort of egotistic kind of way, but it's just, hey, that seemed to be a good life to live. And so it started really as just a kid with a little fantasy about wanting to be like Jesus. And I saw that image in the priest at the altar that I used to assist as a little acolyte. And from there, of course, over the years, it has become far more than just, you know, a pretender of sorts. And as I got older, I saw it as one of the unique ways to serve others, you know, and to try and make a difference in the lives of people, simply put.
Are there any challenges in this role as bishop, now archbishop? And I ask that specifically because as someone who has also grown up with, you know, being rooted in faith, I think it's human for us to sometimes look at these leaders in these positions and think, no, you shouldn't get certain things wrong, you know, because you're a leader, you're a lot more advanced in this walk and in this faith than we are. What are some of the challenges in this role?
You begin to appreciate the challenges by just looking at the world, you know, and when you look at all the things that seek to rob us of hope and joy and peace, that helps us to begin to understand what ministry is all about, because the ministry of which we are a part seeks to bring joy and hope and love. And so those things in the world that seem to work against those things, therein lies the challenge. And I think we're seeing it play out even now with the Pope, and a man who is trying to promote peace as he understands it from the Lord that he's following, and you see the tension that can create. So that's part of the challenge. How do you continue to be a source and an inspiration towards those human values and aspirations that we all have? And as a leader, a religious leader, I suppose there's a particular weight, a particular sense of responsibility for you to live into that on a daily basis, even as you have your own challenges to those very things as well.
And people are watching.
And people are watching.
Everyone's watching.
Yeah, everyone is watching, especially now. You see, you all have
Now I want to get the rest of the ladies in the conversation as well. Dr. Smiling Craig, talk about what this legacy and celebration looks like, and how we want to get everyone involved as well.
Yes, indeed, thank you. On Sunday the 26th of April at 10 a.m. at the Belize Civic Center, we'll have the official installation of His Grace and as Archbishop of the province of the West Indies. So it's a celebration where everyone is invited, and Archbishop is very keen on making sure it's not just an Anglican event. It is an ecumenical event, and yes, there will be the Anglican rituals involved, but everyone is invited. We do ask persons to come early and be seated by 9:30 so that we start at 10 a.m. sharp. But we're having about 14 bishops from the province and from Mexico and possibly from Guatemala, Long Island, and will be here. And Archbishop Pogo, who is the General Secretary of the Anglican Communion, and second to the Archbishop of Canterbury, who is the leader of the Anglican Church. So the celebrations will actually start with entertainment at 9 a.m. And it's a church state event because of the national significance of this, of Belize having the first Belizean born Archbishop representing the province of the West Indies. And in the Anglican Church there are 42 provinces in the entire world, and so it's significant that a Belizean is leading one of these. And the event will be filled with music and a lot of the spiritual side of it, and we have the school children. We have 1,700 or so children from our 20 Anglican schools who will be there from all over the country.
Well, we have the space for it.
Yes, that's why we had to move to the Civic Center. Our cathedral would not have been able to
If I could interject
accommodate.
briefly. You know what is interesting in all of this is that I thought that all the ceremony and everything had been done already from last year. Because I could recall when you returned back to Belize, there was this grand arrival and everything. So for some reason I thought that everything had happened around that time. This is new to me. Sorry, continue.
No, it's a formal installation at this time. But yes, the Archbishop has been in the position since November of last year. So it took time to get everybody to organize to have the formal ceremony. So that will be happening, and we do have entertainment before and after, a lot of music, and some of the children, the Archbishop recently toured the schools in Belize. It was an exciting time for most of our children. And so they're enthusiastic about coming to this event and for performing for a wider audience. So the entertainment pre and post service should be very exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Lang, I want to get you in the conversation as youth representative. What does your role look like in keeping young people interested in growing their faith and acknowledging the importance of the Archbishop?
Well, as the Archbishop, a part of his vision is to revamp the youth arm of the church, not only in Belize, but in the province that he will be leading. And I was afforded the position of being the youth coordinator for the Anglican Diocese for the past 6 years. I am a teacher at one of our Anglican schools, and so like Dr. Craig shared, the Archbishop has traveled to our schools, so he's big on education and getting the youth involved. A part of that visit to the schools, he had discussion with them to let them know the importance about getting an education, following their dreams. We know that before the Archbishop was a bishop or even a priest, he was also a teacher. So that's something personal to him, education. When he graduated from high school, he was the valedictorian. So getting an education is really key to him. And just before we came on, we were talking about, you know, job opportunities and the importance of still getting an education even when we feel like the job market is not suitable for what we're doing. So we want to show youth that yes, it might seem, you know, with media and everything, a lot of distraction, or like Archbishop said, in a world where so much is going on, why should we be hopeful? You know, we want them to get involved, to know that they have a part to play. Their ideas are important, that following Christ and living a Christian life can make a difference, and it brings about opportunities. I had the opportunity to travel to represent the diocese. In those travels, you get to learn, you get to meet new people, you get to create change, not just for yourself or for your church, but change that could help to impact greatly with the world and societies that we live in. So we want to create those opportunities for other young people so that they could leave their mark and help to create this transformation that our Archbishop seeks to want to bring for us.
Beautiful. Well, Archbishop, as you heard all of that there, what comes to your mind? It seems like a good system. The information was disseminated properly.
I am quite impressed.
Okay.
No, but it's so true. I mean, that is what gets us up every morning. You know, they mentioned the visits to the schools. For some reason, I visited the schools before, but this time there was something particularly special about it. In a number of instances, the kids got up and they read poems to me about me, and it was. Wow. And even though I reflected on it, and even though I know that maybe the teacher might have written it, but to hear it come from the lips of a 10-year-old or just made the whole, and to hear them talk about, you know, things like, you know, we look up to you, you're a model. It just serves to remind you again.
Does it feel full circle?
Yeah, exactly. Well, indeed, and I would have these conversations with them, and you know, I have to ask the question, which one of you want to become a priest?
Yes.
You know, and I got some positive responses. So
that's good.
Yes, you're right. It does remind me of that 7-year-old boy too, who but to see these kids, to look them in the face and in the eyes, and to know that how we carry ourselves and the message we present can indeed make a difference in their lives and inspire them to make a difference in the lives of others. It's really remarkable.
Archbishop, what is the scope of your responsibilities within the province itself? It sounds like there's a lot going on and you're at the helm of it all.
There's a lot going on. I think the best way to begin to understand my provincial role, regional role, is the Archbishop chairs the House of Bishops meeting, which means there is an influence there. He also chairs the Standing Committee, provincial, which is the executive arm of our synod, provincial synod. The synod is the highest governing body of the church. And so the Archbishop, by reason of his position, gets to chair all these key groups, these decision-making groups. And it's through that he's able to thereby exercise some influence. But it's really about building relationships. It's really about partnerships. We have a saying in the Anglican community, which the Archbishop is described as the first among equals.
Yeah.
And as that suggests, I am still a bishop, just like all my other bishops. But as Archbishop, I have this additional role to play within that context of building relationship with them, planning together, you know, and seeking to execute that plan together. And yeah, it's exciting. Challenging, but very exciting.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty strong support system behind you as well, an entire country that wears this as an honor as well, too.
I'm truly humbled, not to cut in on you, but it's humbling to think that is indeed the case,
So here's my other question then. What has been the reception from your congregation after this achievement? So the country, we gave you a hero's welcome when you came back. But what has it been like in your own congregation?
Oh, it's been overwhelming, you know. I could spend the next 2 hours talking about the little things that people would say and do that communicate how much they appreciate and love and support. And it's overwhelming. That's the best word to use. And you know, one of the exercises I did after the election, and I had some time, I began to think about all those people I've met all through the years, and it was amazing to see the faces that came back and the voices that tried to give me advice here and there, and you realize truly you stand on the shoulders of so many people, some known and some unknown, you know, who prayed for you, who saw you at a distance and said, you know, I want to support that young man or whatever. And it's truly overwhelming, but at the same time it gives you this tremendous sense of responsibility and accountability to these people. And I pray God that I will be able to do that well. Yeah.
Well, this is a beautiful moment to even wrap up the show even, but I want to go back to reminding our viewers of the event set to take place on the 26th.
Yes.
Just a quick refresher on the date, the time, the location, and do we need to bring anything? You know, just bring yourselves, bring your family, bring your loved ones.
Bring yourselves and your family. Yes, and friends. And it does not matter what religion you support. Okay, and we start sharp at 10. And I must say that it will be live streamed because we have all the congregations in the province and beyond who will be tuned in to this event. And we know it is going to be a very exciting time. As the Archbishop said, we are passionate about this as congregations. And so please join us and have a day filled with spiritual uplifting as well as entertainment, and share in food as well. So come and join us. Yeah. Okay?
We do aim to repeat the miracle of the feeding of the
yes.
thousands.
Of the thousands, yes, we do. Of the 3,000.
A lot of food's going to be
like
there.
25,000.
Yes, there will be, as we like to say in our circles, you know, free food, but free fellowship,
yes.
and free worship, and we pray it will be a wonderful day. And you guys, this means there is an open invitation to you as well,
we
and your
certainly
family.
accept it. You know, thank you so much for this opportunity to sit down with you, Archbishop. We imagine your schedule is jam-packed, but even your support system as well. Thank you, ladies, for joining us and sharing what we can expect on the 26th as well. And so we wish you guys all the best.
Thank you. If I may, can we just say thank you to persons and institutions that have been supporting us.
Absolutely.
Definitely the Anglican schools and churches throughout the country, the Anglicans at home and abroad, the business community in Belize has been very supportive, and the government of Belize has been, the Office of the Prime Minister in particular, has been very supportive of this event. So we do thank you and appreciate what you have done for us.
Wonderful. Yeah. And we thank you guys as well once more for joining us. We wish you guys all the best.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right. Well, we are planning to wrap up the show now, but don't go anywhere. We have to take one final break, and when we come back, we close things off.
Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Full Tech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomier. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Full Tech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
Haven't updated your information recently? Well, kick off the new year as a winner. RF&G Insurance is giving you a free chance to win every month. Entering is easy. Just chat with us on WhatsApp and update your information. That's it. You'll be automatically entered into our monthly raffle for a chance to win awesome prizes. Don't wait. Message us on WhatsApp and update your info today. RF&G Insurance. It pays to get it right.
The success of my business means a lot to my family, especially my brother, because I'm continuing his legacy, making butterfly art collages. It was very hard for me to receive payments. I had to go directly to meet the person I'm purchasing from and who I'm selling to receive payment. Because I opened my business account with Atlantic Bank, now I can make and receive payments online, and this has made my job much easier.
Atlantic Bank, building the future together.
Mornings with the kids are always busy, but having the space we need makes life easier. With the Jack T8, we have the comfort, reliability, and space we need. With fully breathable leather seats, 6-speed manual transmission, 9-inch LCD screen with Apple CarPlay and Android, 4-cylinder, fully turbo diesel, and space for my entire family. We can count on Jack to get us there safely and comfortably.
Alrighty, welcome back. We are wrapping things up at this time, and before we move into our closing, I want to go back to the initial conversation that we had this morning, Isani, regarding the situation in Indian Creek. I know that there are still a lot of questions that people are asking, and the newsroom has their hands full this morning.
Yes.
What's the first steps that we'll be taking?
So we have a team down south today. And based on the information that was initially shared about the location, if I could use that description, of the alcalde, once having confirmed that information, then we will seek an interview with him if he's in a condition to provide one, to kind of walk us through what happened, at least from his perspective.
Yeah.
I think that part of the story at this point is the most important. So while we've laid the backdrop for everything that has taken place leading up to his abduction, or his alleged abduction, we need to hear from him as to what actually transpired. So the team on the ground is seeking to do just that. We're also trying to get all other parties in on this ongoing conversation. I say conversation, but it's more controversial than anything else. And I think our coverage of what has been taking place down south shows that it is a very divisive issue, not only for the village of Indian Creek, but when it comes to land and how we use land and how we access land, it has proven to be a very, very contentious matter. And I think with Paul going down south and trying to get to the bottom of some of the same questions that you and I and our viewers have, we seek to bring some clarity in our later newscast at 6.
All right, well, definitely stay locked into our social media platforms, because we will be providing updates on this matter, and as Isani mentioned, in the latter part of our coverage at 6 p.m. At this point, we want to say thank you to everyone who joined us, though in person, for our conversations on the show this morning. And also you guys, you've been super engaging with us in the comments section. So thank you to everyone who has shared their thoughts on all the topics mentioned. If you have any, excuse me, questions or comments, or even giving a birthday shout out, you can reach us via our email. That's openyoureyes at oie@greaterbelize.com. You can also catch us on our social media platforms. We have Facebook, that's Open Your Eyes BZ. Instagram, that's OYE Belize. We also have TikTok, that's oye.openyoureyes.bc. And we have a phone number, that's 675-2555. But please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
Until then, be sure to keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a wonderful Wednesday, Belize. Stay dry if it's raining in your neck of the woods, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.